Hey guys, my name is JessiMew, and welcome back to the Frostbite tribe. In the last episode, we received a multitude of strange little signs from our gods and our goddesses, and a lot of the babies that were just born in our nests. It started with Amber back here, who was one of the very first children to be born with the panda patterns again, so that may have actually opened the door a little bit for Animeme to truly bless this nest, because now we have our very first two little twins sitting in here. They don't look very similar. In fact, it's hard to call them twins at all with how different they look, but they are still very, very special to our tribe, and especially their father, because this was the very last litter that his mate Cloud was able to have before she passed away. I believe her bones are still in the nest, which is a little bit gruesome. But as far as their names go, a lot of you suggested names that kind of play off of the fact that they look so different, almost like day and night or light and shadow. So the boy will name Sol, which could actually mean sun, and then his sister will name Luna, which of course could mean moon. So kind of opposite names for two very, very opposite babies. It's fitting though, because Luna is definitely the warrior out of this pairing, and if you guys were around for our Fernleaf Island series, then you probably remember Queen Luna, who was one of the beasts of Animeme's picking actually. She tested her many, many times and found that she was a very apt warrior. So I'm sure Luna, our brand new Luna, is going to be just the same. Now of course, over here, where Vanir's followers are currently setting up their own little camp, we had a very, very strange surprise inside this nest as well. We were kind of expecting that this baby was going to be a little bit unlucky because her parents both do have the blindness in their genetics, but instead we found almost an exact replica of Vanir himself, with two nimble fingers, with the cracker jaw, and with the melanism trait. That was quite interesting too. I'm wondering if this is almost like the shadow of Vanir in a way, just like how we also had the shadow of Eve in the Fernleaf Islands too. So maybe in his attempts to come back to the tribe to spread his teachings again, his image was a little bit warped. The mountainside is definitely Animeme's turf after all, so I have a feeling she probably had a little bit of a hand in that too. Not only that, but she also has frog toes, so she is going to be so slow hopping around this place. And I was actually hoping that Vanir's followers could maybe make a pilgrimage over to this side of the island where we have an absolute ton of berry bushes. Even though the berry bushes are not exactly a sustainable source of food for us because they take so long to grow, it would be nice to bring them over here just because it seems like it's a much more suitable home for them to live in. With all of these berry bushes around, with all of these trees too, they have one right here that they can gather from, which Faith is of course dutifully trying to collect all of the acorns, but she is also getting a little bit cold again. I'm wondering if she might be frozen because she doesn't have any energy. She doesn't have that little debuff on her, but she doesn't have any energy to move, so I am wondering if we need to have somebody warm her up. I'm sure little Kirvan won't mind. He is getting a little bit old, but he's helping her out anyway with his big ram horns by knocking down all of these acorns. So it would be nice to bring all of our nimble-fingered creatures over there just to help collect all of that food. But as far as this baby's name goes, a lot of you agreed that we need to give her something that kind of signifies that she is connected to Vanir. So I thought we would actually name her Vancori. Since her name is currently Mecori, that would still honor the name that the game gave her herself, just like we kind of did for JessiMew actually. I'm not sure if you guys were around for the Tribe of the Tides, but JessiMew was kind of like our reincarnation, our male reincarnation actually of Animeme. So this is our female reincarnation of Vanir. So little Vancori is hopefully going to be able to spread his teachings all across the mountainside as long as she can make it over to all of these berry bushes over here. And actually in this location, I did think it might be a good time for Strawberry to set up a nest herself, because she has spent quite a bit of time adventuring with all of her friends, Dyer and Rascal, and I think she may actually have eyes for Dyer at this point. So why don't we see if they can breed right away, since she is getting very, very old now. Hopefully we're going to be able to pull that big body out of her genetics too, because that's definitely more helpful to us at this point than the spiky body. Even though that gives us a little bit of extra strength, we really need the cold resistance because that's kind of what's slowing us down right now. So let's see if we could have Dyer breed with her. Did that work the first time? I believe it actually did. So she can actually set up a nest right in between all of these berry bushes. And then we could clear out a little bit of the grass too, just so we feel a little bit more safe. And in fact, our trickster rascal could do the same. He could actually help out for once by coming over this way and making sure that nothing is going to harm them. He's fine being on his own because he has a high enough cold resistance that he doesn't have to worry about freezing. He has a 3 since he has the big body and that medium tail. That is definitely what we need to try to mutate on our pack more, because most of our creatures ended up with a swimming tail instead. I think Dyer has it. Luckily, Strawberry has the medium tail in her genetics, so hopefully that means it'll be a little bit easier to pass along. And in fact, let's set up our mutation menu before we forget. I would also like to place the ram horns in there so it might be a little bit easier for us to pass that along, because pretty soon that is going to disappear from our entire tribe. Strawberry is one of the very few who still has it. So we have the ram horns in there, and we also want that medium tail. Hopefully that means her babies will not only be strong, but also very, very warm. Now Dyer should probably scoot along this way to clear out a little bit more of this grass, of course, and yeah, this is what I'm talking about. We have so many berry bushes over here. This is literally the perfect location for Vanir's followers. And not only that, but we also have a couple of roots down here too. We actually set up a nest right on top of one of those roots again. Oh dear. Good thing we don't have any digging pod creatures down here to dig up our nests. But this would also be a good spot for some of our digging trunk creatures to settle down once we have that on our babies. And speaking of which, Meme is following her nose again. She's following her nose toward all of those tasty roots way down here by this tree. Though since it is snowing now, she is going to have a little bit more trouble getting around. And a lot of our creatures on this side are staying by the babies because we do have this bird hovering in our skies again. And this time, I don't think he's frozen. I don't think that bird is too cold to move. So we're going to have Amber, her little daughter, actually follow her. She could go through the snow right behind her and make sure that Meme doesn't freeze, because her mate Squall is going to stay right by the babies, all of his grandchildren actually. He has always been a very, very protective critter, so it doesn't surprise me that he wants to make sure that all of his grandchildren are safe and sound, and of course their father is going to stay nearby too. I think. Oh my gosh, can he actually shovel away the snow? He can actually shovel the snow. I can just imagine him shoveling away these giant mounds with his digging claw. Okay, so you can kind of help us out by making sure that we have plenty of paths to go through. But I think there's another route down here. Yeah, you can barely see that root. I think it's on like this tile right here. So that means if Meme goes right over to this spot, she should be able to, oh my goodness, wait a second. You are like completely buried in the snow now. Oh, that is not good. I hope that doesn't mean she's going to freeze even more. Honestly, I thought that when they stepped on the tiles, it like automatically kind of pounded the snow down into the ground, but she is completely buried now. Her little trunk is barely sticking out of the snow. Oh my goodness. Well, let's have you dig up your root. There it is right here, because we definitely want those tasty roots. I really hope you're going to be okay, Meme. We don't need you freezing again, and that is exactly why Amber is going to follow you as closely as possible, just in case you need to be warmed up. We might actually want some of these babies down here to start making their way up the mountain, because they might need to help pretty soon too. So Aster, if you could maybe maneuver yourself around your sister, I think we're going to have her move first up there, and then he can kind of follow right behind. He'll let his father pick up the food over here instead, because we still do have a couple of those acorns. And now that all of their babies are moving on, I do think that Tundra and Dandelion are going to be ready to have another one. So let's have her move right over here. It looks like, oh my goodness, she could banish Dandelion from our tribe. That's because he's in Omega actually, and she's one of the alphas. We are definitely not going to click that. We would definitely not want to banish your mate from our tribe. Let's go ahead and have you guys breed though, and then you can sit right inside this nest over here, and Dandelion can just pick up a bunch of food for you. We might actually want him to move over to this side so we can knock down some more acorns. There we go. Plenty of acorns for him to gather up on the next turn. Now, can you actually shovel some of the snow too with your big claw? I think she can. There we go. So a little bit of a better path for Meme once she does get herself unstuck from the snow right here. Now, we know that Squall can't move anywhere because he's keeping Storm safe, but he can also dig up a little bit of the snow, just like all of his other pack mates. I suppose we could also grab up this nest too, because nobody's really going to use that over here right now, and that means that somebody else could possibly put down a nest if we need to. Now, Leo, we do probably want Leo to have another baby with Sairi because he is going to be passing away pretty soon. He knows that he's getting very, very old, so he's not going to be able to make that pilgrimage over to the other side of the island with all of our berry bushes. That means that this group is going to need at least 3 creatures to keep everyone warm. So let's move Sairi right over here. She's kind of getting cold already, actually, because she doesn't have a very good cold resistance. Then we can have Leo pick up one of his acorns, scoot over here, and try to breed with her again. There we go, 1 try, and that was enough. Now why don't we just pick up some of the grass in the area too, just to make sure that we're a little bit more safe. And now we actually have 10 pieces of nesting material, so we don't have to worry about nobody being able to place down that nest. And I think we might be out of turns that we can possibly make with all of our babies and all of our adults. We just have Kirvan over here, who I suppose could shovel a little bit of snow. I'm not sure what he's using. His no paw's not really going to be much of a help. Maybe he's using those big ram horns to shovel the snow away, and then he can pick up a little bit of that grass too. Now we have our mutation menu set up, so let's zoom way out over here so we can see all of our critters, or as many as possible. I mean, the snow is making that a little bit difficult, and then we'll skip the day and see if anything comes, oh my goodness, rushing out at us. Well, so far so good, but unfortunately we have an absolute ton of snow building up on the mountainside. It is going to be very, very hard for Meme to get around, and I think somebody might be sick. Oh no, somebody is sick. Wait a second, did we breed creatures with 2 same immunity genes? Is that you over here? I think it actually is. Oh my goodness. I didn't even notice that. They both have immunity gene B. Oh, I should have caught that. That is not good. So Vanro, despite the fact that you look absolutely gorgeous with your big white ram horns, you are going to have to be quarantined so nobody else gets sick. His mother's going to have a difficult decision ahead of her though, because we do still have that bird in our skies. So if she leaves this little baby, he's probably going to get swept away. And I mean, I know he's sick, so that wouldn't exactly be a terrible thing for our tribe, just considering their health. But I don't think she's going to want to abandon her very first and only child. So she's going to scoot right over here and maybe suggest that Dyer scoots a little bit further away. She doesn't want him to get sick after all. He's so young. He has so much left of his life. So we'll scoot him over to this side to just pick up some of this grass, make sure that nothing is going to harm his little family, and then Strawberry is going to, I guess, just pick up some of these berries. We do have quite a few berries over here. I guess the bunnies didn't mow them all down, even though we do have quite a few bunnies in the area. Let's see, can we sniff out any of them with Rascal or listen? Yeah, there's one right down on the beach, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to grab it. Let's see, we have a couple of them over here actually. If you scoot maybe into the grass instead, maybe a little bunny will get close enough. It depends if one wants to try to munch on our berry bushes. Sometimes we do use them as traps, so I guess Rascal, this is your chance to prove that you are a trickster and trick some of those bunnies into falling into your trap. Now let's have Faith, who appears to be warm enough to actually move again, pick up some of the acorns, and then I think I would like her to wrap her way around so she's sitting in the grasslands. It does kind of seem like the grasslands is a little bit warmer than the beach actually, so maybe if we set her up right on one of these tiles, she won't be so cold. For now though, Kirvan can at least pick up some of these berries, and then he can scoot next to her too to make sure that she doesn't get too cold. Now let's see, if we go way back here, we should also have another baby in the nest. Let's see, this one almost looks just like her sister. Oh my gosh, I think she is. Like more of a twin than the actual twins that we had born in our nest. So Buttercup, you have a sister who looks almost exactly like you. I think the only difference is in their immunity genes. So maybe Goldenrod would be a good name for her? Buttercup and Goldenrod, those kind of do sound a little bit similar. And then we can have Dandelion, of course, just pick up some of these acorns for all of his babies. We could actually have Tundra go ahead and knock down some more for him so he can pick them up right over here. We don't have any underneath this nest, but I suppose if he goes to this side instead, then he'll be able to pick up more acorns at once. Now we don't want Tundra getting too far away from her baby, so she's not really going to be able to go hunting, but if we set her up right here instead, then she should be a little bit warmer too. And now Meme, how are you doing back here? I mean, so far so good. She is a little bit cold, but she's not in any dangers at the very least. Now Storm, he's probably watching very, very curiously from across the stream, so why don't you actually come up here with Amber, since he is a little bit older now, he has that extra gem, he shouldn't have to worry about the bird in the sky, and then we might might actually have Squall try to make his way around here too if we can. It'll be tricky with all of the snow, but every little bit counts, I guess. You can just go ahead and stomp your way as far as you can, which really isn't very far at all. I guess he had to scoop up that snow before he could settle himself on this tile. Now let's see, Saber, I guess at the very least you could stomp around and make a little bit of a path. Again, he doesn't want to leave his children, his two little twins, because they are very, very important, Sol and Luna. And we can't really move them too far away either. I mean, I guess Sol could come up here just to help keep his packmates warm, but now Luna is going to have to stay right here because she can't get around her family. That's fine though, because they are all huddled together nice and warm, so that means that this little group right here should be perfectly safe. I'm just worried about you, Meme, at this point, and we do want you to get down to those tasty roots as fast as possible. Hopefully Aster and Buttercup will still be able to help. Let's see, we can have Aster come up here to stomp a pathway through some of the snow and then maybe shovel out a little bit more, just so that his sister can get over here too and help with the shoveling. At the very least, they can shovel that out, and then I guess we could set up Meme like right inside the hot spring. There we go, that makes her all nice and toasty warm too, because that little debuff actually went away, and she is still pregnant too, so we are going to have to find her a nest pretty soon. Though I'm sure, honestly, that Tundra won't mind sharing her nest with her brother's mate. So let's have her shovel out some of the snow as well so that we can have Storm come down here, and then maybe it looks like Amber is also going to have to stay here. Yeah, they definitely need to shovel the snow with their digging claws and their regular claws before they can actually step on those tiles. I guess it's just when the snow gets to a certain height, but I mean, this is pretty crazy. This is definitely worse than the snow that we had previously, so I guess this is our first official blizzard. If the last one was just a little snow squall, this is definitely the storm of the season. In fact, we might actually want to sniff around a little bit again, maybe listen to make sure nothing is trying to creep around at us. So far so good, we just have those bunnies back there. I would expect that pretty soon though, some of those new predators are going to stumble their way down the mountainside to see if they can find anything to snack on. It must be hard for them to find food as well, so I'm sure they're eyeing up all of our creatures' stores. Now I think all we actually have to do is name this poor little baby back here. I almost forgot to name you, and I think I'm going to name him Tusk, because those big ram horns do kind of remind me of like tusks of some sort, so we'll name him Tusk. And I guess this does also mean that he's going to get his mother sick, and she is probably going to pass away on this day, but she would not abandon her baby with that bird so close in their skies. So let's go ahead and skip the day and then try to figure out what we're actually going to do with this baby. Honestly, I cannot believe that I didn't notice. Oh, she didn't get sick. I guess we were just lucky, because typically the sicknesses can spread between the creatures, so Strawberry, you get to live another day. That means that she did make the right decision, and maybe Animeme is just smiling down on her for not abandoning her family in their time of need. That means that Tusk should also get the chance to grow his second gem before we need to worry about anyone else being settled too close next to him. So we will still be able to technically quarantine this baby, but he shouldn't get taken away from us by this nasty bird in the skies. Now, is there anyone else who needs our attention right now? We do have Leo, who has passed away back here, which means that it might be time for Vancory to scoot her way out of the nest, oh my goodness, and keep that Dodomingo away. We'll have Sairi sit in the nest before the Dodomingo can steal it again, and then she of course needs to take on her family's orange gems. Now let's once again sniff around now that the snow has ended, just to make sure that nothing is slithering out to get us. So far so good, we just have this Dodomingo back here, of course, but everything else looks okay so far. We should probably spread our creatures out a little bit more, especially now that it's not snowing anymore, so we shouldn't have to worry about all of the snow piling up on us. Storm is warm enough to use both of his points of energy, so let's make sure that he shovels out a little bit of the snow for us. And then we can have Mia make her way all the way down here. She can finally dig up her roots. Yes, okay, so let's go way over here. Let's have her sniff them out right over in this location, and then she can start digging up all of these tasty roots. Just in time too, because we are getting a little bit low on food, and that's a little bit worrying. It seems like Goldenrod might be too cold to move at all. Okay, so we definitely want some of our creatures to help warm up their babies. I guess Dandelion could pick up all of these acorns and then scoot right down here to help keep her warm. We're going to have Tundra stay in the same location, but she can at least pick up some of that grass and that snow, and then knock down even more food for the rest of her family. Now you two back here, I suppose we could actually have maybe Aster set up right on top of this little throne, this little stump, just to light up the area a little bit more. And then his sister could make her way up here to greet some of the newest creatures to join their little area of the tribe, their little territory. Amber is going to try to follow her mother, of course, but now that they're all kind of settled in this little triangle, they shouldn't have to worry about freezing, because I know a lot of these creatures, especially Amber with her medium body, are having trouble with the cold. Now let's see, you guys are actually almost fully grown. Look at you, our little twins, Sol and Luna. Let's go ahead and give you those special gems that all of your family members have, the blue and the green and the blue, just like your father. And now you guys can actually start exploring the place too. I wonder if maybe they should try to shovel out some pathways on the very top of the mountain. I was actually thinking that maybe a fun little thing we could try to do is bring some of our creatures from each of the different communities on the island right up to the top of the mountain once it stops snowing. So almost like a little meeting, so they can all kind of regroup, regather, try to figure out how much food they need to gather up before the next storm, and maybe even meet some new creatures too. That would be a good way for some of our different communities to mingle, and then hopefully we won't have this situation again with the creatures with the double immunity genes. Like, I still cannot believe that I didn't notice that they had the same immunities, but I guess it all worked out in the end because Strawberry is perfectly healthy despite the fact that her baby is sick, so I am very, very glad that that worked out for her. Now Dyer, why don't you actually go ahead and swipe up this berry bush? I know Vanir wouldn't be very pleased with you, but I don't feel like Dyer really has the patience to pick all those berries. Now Faith can finally make her way up to the grassland, so she'll be a little bit warmer in the future. She can scoot right up here, pick up all of these acorns, and spend some time with her friend, of course, because Kirvan is on his very last day. So I'm not sure if he ever really got the chance to prove himself to his tribe mates. I don't think he ever really found any useful resources that he could bring back to his leaders and show them that he was worth something, but he did find a friend. He did find Faith, and to her he was very, very helpful, knocking down all of those acorns, making sure that she's nice and warm, so at the very least he was able to prove himself in this way to himself, maybe, to himself and to his brand new friend who was abandoned just like he was. So clearly she is really going to miss him when he passes away, but at least they can spend that final day together and we can come over here with Rascal and try to find those pesky bunnies again. I guess none of them really fell for your trap, huh? You're going to have to go all the way down here and try to grab them yourself. Oh, the bunny is frozen. You must be a little bit too cold, huh? And this one kind of hopped into the water. That's probably not a good idea for you. You're going to be even colder than your friend was if you stay in there too long. Now let's make sure that we set up the mutation menu for this baby. We aren't too concerned about the blindness because honestly that would actually fit very nicely into the lore that we're crafting for Vanir's followers, so I'm not going to place the normal eyesight in there, even though that might guarantee that they wouldn't have the blindness, and instead we're going to focus on that big body like usual because they do realize, I think, even though they are more devoted to the harvest, they are going to need to beef up their babies a little bit if they don't want to get left behind. Eventually, we are going to move to the harder snowy mountain biome once we have enough food and once our creatures are strong enough because, judging by the skeletons over here, we are definitely going to need very, very strong creatures with us. So if they don't want to get left behind, they are going to have to make sure that they have a strong enough strength stat that our creatures won't banish them from those ports. So the big body, and then the other thing we placed in here before was actually that running leg, if I can find that. There we go, we'll place that in the 10% slot just to hopefully override that no paw, just in case that shows up on one of her babies. And I guess honestly you can just go ahead and shuffle up some of the snow. You might as well, so we can move a little bit more freely in the future. Now we just have you guys up here to do a little bit of shoveling yourself to make sure that we have a proper place to possibly hold a little meeting. And look at that, Saber, you can actually gather up a little bit of food too. As he shuffles, he can go ahead and grab all of those tasty roots. His mother would be very, very proud of him right now as she gathers up all of her own roots too. And then we should be ready to skip the day and see what Vanir's second follower is going to look like. So after we have this baby, that means that we'll have enough creatures to, oh my goodness, go along with us to the other side of the mountain. But look at you. You are certainly very, very different from your sister, despite the fact that she has the melanism again. This is quite interesting. So she does have the no paw. She doesn't actually have the nimble fingers like her sister was able to inherit, and she has the spit snout too, the derp snout. Oh, I didn't know they changed the name. The Derp Snout. That is adorable. Okay, so she has her mother's Derp Snout. Thankfully, she is also not blind, so we don't have to worry about that either. And she has Immunity Gene K, just like her sister, and I'm pretty sure that is actually quite rare on our mountainside. But look at all of these deaths, too. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Oh dear, Rascal. It seems your mischievous ways have landed you in a little bit of trouble over here. Luckily, he does have some friends willing to swoop in and help save him, so hopefully Dire will be able to get over there in time, actually. It seems like it will take him a little bit of time to actually get to that carnivore. So Rascal, why don't you go ahead and hit him twice? And then we can scoot you way off down the shore, which will hopefully be just far enough away to keep him safe from that carnivore. I'm not sure, he might get hurt once, but we do have plenty of those healing fruits on the mountain, so even if he does get hurt, he should be able to heal himself. And likewise, if it goes after Dire instead, then he should be safe too. His son, Tusk, is probably going to need one of those healing fruits himself just to sustain his life. And actually, I wonder if he did get his mother sick that time. There we go, it looks like somebody was infected, and it must have been his mother because she was right next to him, but she was going to pass away on that day anyway, so good on you, Strawberry, for not actually abandoning your son, even though he was very, very sick. Now, this bird in our sky shouldn't be too much of a problem anymore, except for this baby back here, but it is very, very far away. We don't have to worry about little Goldenrod though, so let's have you start moving your way up the mountain too. We'll go ahead and have her sit over here so she can shovel up some of the snow and make sure that Meme can get around a little bit more easily. Let's sniff out the roots though. There's one right over here, a tasty root. There's one over here as well, I believe. So let's move her right down here. Oh, 2 of them. Excellent. So she'll be able to dig up a ton of roots in just a moment. And we also have a mole right in this spot. So if we can be very sneaky about this, we might be able to maneuver Tundra around so she can grab it. We needed to turn just a little bit more before she goes into this spot, so let's have her son maybe use up some of his turns. If he could gather up a little bit of this grass right around his stump, then she can lunge into the tall grass over here and swipe up this mole for us. There we go, our very first mole hunt on the mountainside. Now that the carnivore is semi-dealt with though, let's make sure that we name this baby too. A lot of you actually suggested something like Nightshade or Belladonna for Vanir, so why don't we actually name her sister that? We'll name her Belladonna since it goes along very, very well with the melanistic trait. And now that this family is a trio, we won't have to worry so much about them freezing out on the mountainside once they make their pilgrimage. So we can move Sairi right here so they're in that triangle formation, which means that she will be nice and toasty warm all huddled up with her babies. She can shovel the snow for now just so that we have that a little bit more cleared, and otherwise we're going to have to leave Vanir right there to keep her little sister safe. Now, I think Faith actually froze again. Oh my goodness, poor Faith. You are having such a tough time down here with that freezing issue. Unfortunately, Tusk is not going to be able to get over to her. Well, I mean, technically he could get over to her, but if we leave him right there, then she might get sick. So instead, to make sure he's still technically quarantined, we could move him right over to this spot right here, and then on the next turn, he can warm her up and then hopefully scoot away before he gets her sick too. Now let's have this group right here, our 3 generations, all of the same family, continue stomping around in the snow, making pathways, so everyone will be able to get up to the very tippity top of the mountain once we do decide to hold our very first meeting. Maybe after the next storm. Maybe that would be a good idea because I'm not sure if enough creatures are going to make their way up here before it starts snowing again, but I think that is what we will plan on, so all of these different communities can meet and mingle and get to know each other without just hoping to blindly stumble across somebody on the mountainside. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!